Relatives say that victim was out celebrating her birthday, which was this past Thursday, when she was shot and killed on the South Side. She leaves behind 6 children, the youngest less than a year old. For the family of Jamia Taylor, her death just doesn't seem real.
No, it still feels like a dream. All of it seems like it's a dream.
Tamanita Whitehorn left devastated after losing her oldest child 3 days after she turned 29.
She was a wonderful person, kept a smile on her face, good parent, everything about her was good.
Police say Taylor was shot in the chest and left to die on the cold pavement in the 1800 block of East 79th Street around 5 a.m. after celebrating her birthday.
The clock had just struck 5 a.m. on February 9th, 2025. Chicago's East 79th Street lay quiet and dark. The night's revelry long faded. Hours earlier, Jamia Taylor, known to her online followers as Mya Da Baddie, had been celebrating her 29th birthday, surrounded by laughter and love. Now, her body lay on cold pavement, blood pooling from multiple gunshot wounds to her chest. How does a mother of 6 transition from birthday candles to crime scene tape in less than 24 hours? The contrast couldn't be more stark. One moment, a woman marking another year of life, perhaps thinking of her children waiting at home. 6 young souls ranging from a baby to a preteen. The next, emergency responders racing against time, their efforts ultimately futile, as doctors pronounced her dead at the hospital. No witnesses came forward. No suspects were identified. Just the brutal, unexplained murder of a woman who worked 2 jobs, retail associate and security guard, to provide for her family. What happened in those missing hours between celebration and tragedy? Who would target a hard-working mother on what should have been one of her happiest days? And why has justice remained elusive months after her killing? The questions haunt her family, who now raise 6 children who may never fully understand why their mother never came home that February morning. Have you ever noticed how quickly joy can turn to tragedy? Share your thoughts in the comments below as we examine the mysterious death of Jamia Taylor, a birthday that ended not with gifts, but with gunshots. If you're new to Dark Trace Crime Stories, you're welcome. Kindly hit that subscribe button and notification bell now. This channel brings you the most compelling true crime cases with insights you won't find anywhere else. Your support helps us continue telling these important stories. To understand the magnitude of what was lost on that February morning, we must first understand who Jamia Taylor truly was, beyond the shocking headlines and crime statistics that would later define her final moments. Known to family and friends as Jamia Taylor, but recognized across social media platforms as Mya Da Baddie, the 29-year-old Chicago native navigated 2 distinct worlds. Online, her vibrant personality shone through carefully curated posts that connected her with followers who appreciated her authenticity and energy. In real life, she was simply mom to 6 young children who depended on her completely. Pretty, smart, intelligent were the words her mother used to describe Jamia, a woman whose life was cut tragically short just after celebrating another year of life. But these simple adjectives barely scratched the surface of a complex woman who balanced multiple responsibilities with grace and determination. At just 29, Jamia had built a life centered around her children, who ranged in age from 11 months to 12 years old. Every decision she made, every early morning she faced, was motivated by their well-being. While many young women her age were focused on building careers or enjoying social lives, Jamia's priority remained steadfast, providing stability and love for her 6 children. This dedication manifested in her remarkable work ethic. Unlike many who struggle to maintain a single job while parenting, Jamia held 2 positions simultaneously. By day, she worked retail, navigating customer service with the same patience she likely showed her children at home. During other hours, she served as a security guard, an ironic profession given the lack of security that would ultimately claim her life. These dual incomes weren't about luxury or excess. They represented survival and opportunity for her family. Every paycheck meant food on the table, clothes for growing bodies, and perhaps small moments of joy for children who deserved normalcy despite challenging circumstances. Beyond her roles as mother and provider, Jamia was deeply embedded in her community. She was known as someone who would readily help others, extending kindness beyond her immediate family circle. As a homeroom parent and active PTA contributor, she invested precious time in improving not just her children's education, but the school environment for all families. This level of community engagement speaks volumes about a woman who, despite limited resources and time, still found ways to contribute to the greater good. Her family structure provided additional support. A close relationship with her mother and stepmother created a network of love around her children. These relationships would become even more crucial after her death, as these women stepped forward to raise 6 children suddenly left without their mother. On social media, where she adopted the moniker Mya Da Baddie, Jamia expressed different facets of her personality. This online presence wasn't separate from her real life. It was simply another dimension of a multifaceted woman. Through platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, she connected with others, sharing glimpses of her life and building relationships beyond her immediate physical community. What makes her story particularly heartbreaking is the future that was stolen, not just from Jamia, but from her children. Her youngest, at just 11 months old when she died, will grow up with no personal memories of the mother who worked tirelessly to provide. Her oldest, at 12, faces the burden of remembering what the younger siblings cannot. As Jamia's stepmother pointedly expressed, some of her babies are 2, 3, and 4. They'll never remember who their mother was. This devastating reality, 6 children growing up without the fierce love and protection of their mother, underscores the true cost of violence. Each milestone, from first steps to graduations, will be marked by her absence. Each achievement will lack her proud smile. Each struggle will miss her guiding hand. In examining Jamia Taylor's life, we see far more than a victim. We see a young woman who defied stereotypes and expectations, who built a life of purpose and connection despite challenges. We see a mother whose love manifested in early mornings and late nights, in PTA meetings and double shifts. We see a daughter, a friend, a community member whose absence leaves a void that cannot be filled. And perhaps most importantly, we see the human cost behind the statistics of urban violence, a cost measured not in numbers, but in birthdays never celebrated, in children growing up without their mother, in potential never realized. February 7, 2025, marked Jamia Taylor's 29th birthday, a milestone that should have been merely another chapter in a long life story. Instead, it became the final page. In the days leading up to her birthday, Jamia continued her usual routine, balancing her retail job and security work while caring for her 6 children. Social media posts from this period showed a woman looking forward to celebrating another year of life. Friends later recalled her excitement about taking a rare night for herself after months of relentless work and childcare responsibilities. The evening of February 8th, just one day after her actual birthday, Jamia arranged childcare for her 6 children, entrusting them to family members for the night. This simple act of preparation highlights her responsible nature. Even in planning a celebration, her children's well-being remained paramount. With her children safely cared for, she was free to enjoy a night out, something that, as a working mother of 6, was undoubtedly a rare luxury. Dressed for the occasion and radiating the confidence that earned her the Mya Da Baddie moniker online, Jamia headed out to celebrate with friends in Chicago's South Shore neighborhood. Photos from that night show her smiling, surrounded by well-wishers, seemingly without concern for what would unfold hours later. The celebration itself appeared normal by all accounts. Dinner, drinks, music, and the company of friends who gathered to mark another year in the life of a woman they admired. No reports indicate any disturbances, arguments, or unusual occurrences during the main celebration. By all appearances, it was simply a joyful gathering for a deserving young mother taking a well-earned break from her responsibilities. What happened after the official celebration ended remains largely unknown, a critical gap in the timeline that investigators have struggled to fill. The party reportedly wound down sometime after midnight, with attendees gradually dispersing into the early morning hours of February 9th. Between the end of her birthday celebration and 5:23 a.m., when emergency services received the call about a woman shot on East 79th Street, lies a mysterious void of information. Who was Jamia with during these hours? Where did she go after the main celebration? Did she encounter someone she knew, or was she the victim of random violence? These questions remain unanswered. Her last known communications offer few clues. No public reports indicate alarming text messages or phone calls. No social media posts suggest she felt threatened or in danger. The transition from celebration to tragedy happened without digital warning signs, at least none that have been made public. What we do know is that at some point, Jamia found herself on the 1800 block of East 79th Street in the pre-dawn hours, an area not far from where she had been celebrating. Whether she was walking alone, waiting for transportation, or meeting someone remains unclear. The gap between her last confirmed sighting among friends and her discovery with gunshot wounds represents the most crucial missing piece in understanding her final hours. This timeline gap haunts both investigators and family members. In those missing hours lies the difference between justice and an unsolved case, between closure and perpetual questioning. For her 6 children, this gap represents the inexplicable transition from having a mother to becoming motherless, a transformation that occurred while they slept, unaware that their world was being irreversibly altered. As dawn broke over Chicago on February 9th, the celebration that had begun with such promise less than 24 hours earlier had transformed into a tragedy that would leave 6 children without their mother and a community searching for answers that still haven't come. The South Shore neighborhood of Chicago sits along Lake Michigan, about 7 miles south of downtown. It was on the 1800 block of East 79th Street that Jamia Taylor's life ended in the early morning darkness of February 9th, 2025. At 5:23 a.m., when most of the city still slept and Jamia's children remained unaware in their beds, an emergency call came through to Chicago Police Dispatch. A passerby, possibly an early shift worker or someone returning home late, had discovered a woman lying on the pavement. She was unresponsive, bleeding from multiple gunshot wounds to her chest. The temperature that February morning hovered just above freezing, cold enough that steam rose from the blood pooling beneath Jamia's body. The street was largely deserted at that hour. The nearby businesses shuttered behind security gates, their surveillance cameras pointing in directions that would later prove unhelpful to investigators. First responders arrived within minutes, finding Jamia still alive but gravely wounded. Paramedics immediately began life-saving measures on the cold pavement, working frantically to stabilize her before transport. Their urgency reflected the severity of her injuries, multiple gunshot wounds to the chest, each one potentially fatal on its own. The ambulance rushed Jamia to the nearest trauma center, sirens cutting through the pre-dawn quiet of residential streets. Emergency room doctors continued the desperate fight to save her life, but the damage was too extensive. Despite their efforts, Jamia Taylor was pronounced dead shortly after arrival at the hospital. A 29-year-old mother of 6, whose birthday celebration had ended in tragedy less than 48 hours after it began. Back at the crime scene, Chicago police officers established a perimeter with yellow tape that fluttered in the winter wind. Evidence technicians photographed the scene, marking shell casings and blood patterns. Detectives canvassed the immediate area, knocking on doors of nearby businesses and residences, seeking witnesses who might have seen or heard something in those critical pre-dawn hours. Their initial findings painted a troubling picture. No surveillance footage directly captured the shooting. No witnesses immediately came forward. The commercial district, busy during daylight hours, had been largely deserted when the shots rang out. Even the timing worked against investigators. At 5:23 a.m., most potential witnesses were asleep, and those who might have heard gunshots in a neighborhood where such sounds aren't uncommon may have simply rolled over and gone back to sleep. The physical evidence told a partial story. Jamia had been shot multiple times at close range, suggesting this wasn't a random drive-by, but a more targeted attack. Her purse and personal belongings remained with her, indicating robbery wasn't the primary motive. The location, a commercial street rather than a secluded area, suggested either an impulsive act or a perpetrator unconcerned about potential witnesses. As morning fully dawned and residents began their Sunday routines, news of the shooting spread through the community. For many South Shore residents, gun violence had become a tragic backdrop to daily life, but the details of this case, a young mother killed just after her birthday, struck a particularly painful chord. By midday, as police continued their investigation, word reached Jamia's family. The notification process followed the grim protocol that police departments have established for such moments, officers arriving at the home, asking to speak with adult family members, delivering news that would shatter their world. For Jamia's mother and stepmother, the incomprehensible became reality. Their daughter was gone, and 6 children were now without their mother. The community's reaction evolved throughout the day. Initial shock gave way to outrage, then to the sadly familiar pattern of makeshift memorials and social media tributes. Neighbors placed candles and flowers at the site where Jamia was found. Local community leaders issued calls for witnesses to come forward. Church congregations added her name to prayer lists. But beneath these visible responses lay a deeper current of resignation. Another life lost, another family broken, another case that might join the ranks of unsolved homicides in a city where gun violence has claimed too many lives. As Sunday ended, Jamia's children faced their first night knowing their mother would never come home again. Area 4 detectives of the Chicago Police Department officially classified Jamia Taylor's death as a homicide within hours of her discovery. This designation, while seemingly obvious given the multiple gunshot wounds to her chest, set in motion a specific investigative protocol designed to identify, apprehend, and build a case against her killer. The initial 48 hours after a homicide are often considered the most critical period for gathering evidence and identifying suspects. Detectives work through these golden hours methodically, processing the crime scene, canvassing for witnesses, and beginning the painstaking process of reconstructing Jamia's final movements. Yet from the outset, investigators faced substantial obstacles that would ultimately prevent them from making an arrest. The first and perhaps most significant challenge was the near-complete absence of witnesses. The 1800 block of East 79th Street, while busy during business hours, was largely deserted at 5:23 a.m. when Jamia was shot. Those who lived or worked nearby were mostly asleep, and the few who might have been awake either didn't see anything or, as is unfortunately common in areas where cooperation with police carries risks, chose not to come forward. Nobody will step up unless someone says something, Jamia's family would later lament, highlighting the code of silence that often hampers investigations in neighborhoods where trust in law enforcement has been eroded by decades of complex relationships. The lack of useful surveillance footage compounded this problem. While cameras dotted the commercial district, many were non-functional, pointed in unhelpful directions, or of such poor quality that they failed to capture useful images. Those that did work provided only fragmented glimpses of the area, none directly showing the shooting or clearly identifying potential suspects. Investigators also struggled with establishing a clear timeline. The gap between when Jamia was last seen celebrating her birthday and when she was discovered shot on East 79th Street represented crucial missing hours. Who was she with? Where did she go? Did she meet someone intentionally, or was she randomly targeted? These questions remained unanswered despite detectives' efforts to piece together her movements. Perhaps most frustrating was the absence of an obvious motive. Jamia's personal belongings remained with her body, ruling out robbery as the primary intent. No evidence suggested involvement in activities that typically generate high-risk situations. As a working mother of 6 who held jobs in retail and security, she didn't fit the profile of someone likely to be targeted in a planned attack. Her mother expressed this bewilderment, questioning why anyone would want to harm someone so kind and helpful. She was always willing to help others in her community, she told local reporters, her confusion echoing the sentiments of many who knew Jamia. Without a clear motive, investigators faced the daunting task of considering multiple scenarios: a personal dispute unknown to her family, a case of mistaken identity, a random act of violence, or something else entirely. Each possibility required different investigative approaches, stretching already limited resources. As days turned to weeks without an arrest, Jamia's family began their own desperate search for answers. They distributed flyers throughout the neighborhood, organized community meetings, and made emotional appeals through local media. Nothing will stop this until somebody stands up, they insisted, hoping to break through the wall of silence that often surrounds such cases. The family's efforts included offering a $25,000 reward for information leading to an arrest, a substantial sum that reflected both their determination and their anguish. This reward, while significant, failed to generate credible leads, suggesting that potential witnesses either truly knew nothing or feared the consequences of coming forward more than they valued the potential reward. By July 2025, 5 months after Jamia's murder, the case had effectively gone cold. Detectives continued to nominally investigate, but without new evidence or witnesses, progress stalled. The file remained open, joining hundreds of other unsolved homicides in Chicago, cases where justice remains elusive and families continue to wait for answers that may never come. For Jamia's family, particularly her mother and stepmother now raising 6 children without their mother, this lack of resolution added another layer to their grief. Not only were they mourning Jamia and supporting her children through their loss, but they were also living with the knowledge that her killer remained free, perhaps passing them on the street, shopping in the same stores, or watching their appeals for information with indifference. The investigation into Jamia Taylor's death highlights the challenges facing homicide detectives in urban environments. Witnesses reluctant to come forward, limited forensic evidence, overworked investigators, and the absence of clear motives or suspects. It also underscores the devastating impact on families left behind, forced to navigate both grief and uncertainty as they wait for justice that remains elusive. What do you think happened in those early morning hours? What clues might investigators be missing? Let us know your theories in the comments below.
5 a.m. after celebrating her birthday. Why her life was taken is a mystery to her mother.
Pretty smart, intelligent. She looked out for everybody. Whenever anybody needed something, she helped them out. So why would they do this to my baby? I just don't understand.
Relatives say Taylor worked 2 jobs, one in retail, the other as a security guard, and had a large social media following under the name Mya Da Baddie. She was the mother of 6 children, ranging in age from 11 months to 12 years old.
And it's devastating what my grandbabies gonna do. They don't understand what's really going on, and it's gonna be hard that their mom is not here.
Police are investigating Taylor's death as a homicide and say no one is in custody at this time.
In the wake of Jamia Taylor's murder, the most profound impact fell upon 6 innocent children who went to bed with a mother and woke up without one. The oldest at 12, the youngest just 11 months. Each faced a different version of the same devastating reality. For the baby, too young to understand or remember, the loss manifested in the most primal way: the sudden absence of the mother's touch, voice, and nurturing presence. This child will grow up with no personal memories of Jamia, knowing her only through photographs and stories told by others. The toddlers ages 2, 3, and 4 experience confusion and distress they couldn't fully articulate, repeatedly asking when mommy was coming home, unable to grasp the permanence of death. The school-aged children confronted a more conscious grief, understanding enough to know their mother was never returning, but lacking the emotional tools to process such a profound loss. The 12-year-old, old enough to fully comprehend what happened, shouldered an additional burden, becoming a surrogate parent figure to younger siblings while navigating their own grief. Some of her babies are 2, 3, and 4. They'll never remember who their mother was, Jamia's stepmother explained to reporters, her voice breaking as she articulated the tragedy's most heartbreaking aspect. This simple statement captured the generational impact of gun violence. Children who would grow up with a void where maternal memories should be. Everyday expenses multiplied by 6, food, clothing, school supplies, medical care, created a constant strain on resources already stretched thin by funeral costs and time taken off work to care for grieving children. The emotional toll on Jamia's mother was particularly acute. In media interviews, she described her daughter as pretty, smart, intelligent, and expressed profound confusion about why anyone would harm someone so kind and helpful. This bewilderment, the inability to make sense of a senseless act, added another dimension to her grief, making closure even more elusive. Community support materialized in various forms. Neighbors brought meals and offered childcare. Local churches collected donations for the family. Jamia's online followers, as Mya Da Baddie, organized fundraisers through social media. A GoFundMe campaign helped with immediate expenses, though no amount of financial support could fill the void left in 6 young lives. The family's search for closure became inextricably linked to their quest for justice. Without answers about who killed Jamia or why, their grief remained in a painful limbo, unable to progress through natural stages of mourning when such a crucial piece remained missing. This suspended grief manifested in their tireless efforts to keep Jamia's case in the public eye, distributing flyers throughout the neighborhood and making repeated appeals for witnesses to come forward. Nothing will stop this until somebody stands up and says something, they insisted, their determination fueled by the knowledge that somewhere, someone knew what happened to Jamia in those early morning hours on East 79th Street. For these 6 children and the family members raising them, life continued forward while simultaneously remaining frozen in that February morning when everything changed. Each day brought both healing and reminders of what was lost, a complex grief with no resolution in sight as long as Jamia's killer remained free and the questions surrounding her death remained unanswered. As of July 2025, the investigation into Jamia Taylor's murder remains officially open, but effectively cold. No arrests have been made. No suspects have been publicly identified. No charges have been filed. The Chicago Police Department's Area 4 detectives continue to nominally investigate, but without new evidence or witnesses coming forward, progress has stalled. The $25,000 reward offered by Jamia's family for information leading to an arrest remains unclaimed, a testament to both the wall of silence surrounding the case and the possibility that those with knowledge fear consequences more than they value potential reward. The fundamental questions in Jamia's case remain unanswered. Who shot a 29-year-old mother multiple times in the chest on a Chicago street at 5:23 a.m.? Why was she targeted? Was this a random act of violence, a case of mistaken identity, or did someone specifically intend to harm Jamia? What happened in those crucial hours between her birthday celebration and her discovery on East 79th Street? Who, if anyone, was with her in those final moments? These questions haunt her family, particularly her mother and stepmother, who now raise 6 children without their mother. They haunt her community, where residents walk past the spot where she was found, wondering if her killer might be among them. And they should haunt a society that has normalized the murder of young parents to the point where such cases frequently go unsolved. For anyone with information about Jamia Taylor's murder, even details that might seem insignificant, Chicago police urge contact with Area 4 detectives or anonymous tips through Crime Stoppers. The smallest observation, an unfamiliar car on East 79th Street that February morning, an overheard conversation, unusual behavior from someone who knew Jamia, could provide the breakthrough needed to solve this case and bring closure to 6 children growing up without their mother. Yet even as we acknowledge the tragedy of her death and the injustice of her unsolved murder, we must remember Jamia Taylor beyond her final moments. She was more than a victim of gun violence. She was a mother who worked 2 jobs to provide for her children. She was a daughter described as pretty, smart, intelligent by a mother who now grieves her loss. She was Mya Da Baddie, to followers who appreciated her vibrant online presence. She was a community member who contributed to school activities despite her demanding schedule. In remembering Jamia Taylor, we honor not just who she was, but who she might have become had she lived beyond 29. We acknowledge the birthdays she'll never celebrate, the children's milestones she'll never witness, the contributions she'll never make. And in that acknowledgement lies both grief for what was lost and determination that such losses should not continue unchallenged. 6 children now grow up without their mother. A killer walks free. Justice remains elusive. But Jamia's story, her full story, not just its tragic end, deserves to be told, remembered, and used as a catalyst for change in how we address violence against young parents in our communities. If this story moved you, please hit like and subscribe to help us bring awareness to cases like Jamia's. What state or country are you watching from? Let us know in the comments.